Alo. And in case you don't know what I'm about, this is basically just like a little chit chat of personal life, growth, emotions, basically anything you vent about to a girlfriend on like a super late night call. Today's episode is all about feeling ready and how that feeling is a trap. If you've ever put off something just because you don't feel quite ready, whether that is moving to a new city, starting a new job, talking to somebody new, starting a new project, whatever it is, you are definitely not alone. But here's the thing, bestie. Ready is not a feeling. Ready is a decision. So if you've literally been waiting for like this magical feeling to appear out of nowhere and everything is just going to click until you have the perfect plan, well, I am so sorry to break it to you, but that's quite literally never going to happen. And I mean, overall, when you think about it, it's a good thing because when you realize that that's not going to happen, you can stop waiting and you can start doing. You can start moving towards those projects that you've been wanting to move towards. But before we go too deep into this, I want to tell you my story time of waiting to feel ready. And I was never going to be ready, let me tell you. This podcast has been on the making since the beginning of 2023. Okay, I launched it December 2024, but I had bought all of the materials, I would want to say summer of 2023. And I'm just going to put pictures here of everything. Actually, maybe I bought it the winter of 2023. Doesn't matter. Since 2023, I've said I am going to do a podcast. And mind you, the concept that I had back in the day was completely different. It was nothing to do with what I have right now. I basically wanted to be a two people podcast, but it was like me and guests. So I would alternate the guests every week, and it was just going to leave a deeper meaning behind every episode so that people could feel encouraged and seen and represented. So it was this whole different idea of a podcast to what it is now. Bottom line, tell me why summer 2023 comes by and I am like at a VIP lunch with my job, and my coworkers or whatever. I meet the mayor of San Francisco at the time and I meet the DA of San Francisco, which big deal. I mean, they were both women, like massive deal. I knew I wanted a podcast. I didn't have anything for the podcast yet because I had just been like, okay, I need to buy the things and I'm just going to start talking, but who am I going to invite? Like, I don't know anybody. Like, who's going to be the first guest? I mean, I don't want to have like a nobody on the podcast. Like, I want to have someone that's actually going to leave a mark. I was still in my head about it. Okay, this luncheon comes about. I meet the mayor and I'm like, hey, would you be open to, be a guest on my podcast? Like, it's about women empowerment, blah, blah, blah. I did not have a podcast. I had a concept. And I think at this point, I didn't even have the things for the podcast. I didn't even have one mic. Okay. And she said, yes. At that point, I said, I need to get it together and go buy everything to make this podcast happen. She gave me her phone number, her direct line. I also asked the DA and she said, absolutely. Just let me know when. I couldn't let them know when because I didn't have a freaking podcast yet. Move forward to December 2024. Even if you go back to my earlier videos, okay, like the first couple of videos I posted, it wasn't this setup. Oh, also, I just added these two shelves. If you're on audio, just go watch me on video. But I added two shelves to the wall and it just makes the little setup a little cuter. But my setup didn't look like this, okay? It was two chairs and a little side table that I had laying around somewhere. And why did I launch like that? That obviously wasn't my dream, setup for a podcast. This also isn't my dream setup right now. It's the best I can do. And I'm really, really happy with it. But this is not my dream, right? Do I let those type of things stop me? No. So in my first podcast, I said, I don't care if I don't have the perfect setup, the perfect chairs, the perfect mic, the perfect everything. I just need to launch, okay? Launch now, adapt later. This has been a podcast that has been in the making for 2 years. It does not need to take 2 years for somebody to launch a podcast. Like, this is outrageous. It still took me 2 years because I was so in my head about it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to pull numbers. No one's going to like it. No one's going to connect with it. No one. Bottom line, I was always waiting for okay, I'm ready. I was never ready because in your head, it's like a defense mechanism, okay? Your brain is trying to tell you, oh, if we do this, it could fail. And these are the type of failures that could happen, right? Like, the chairs are not perfect. The background is not perfect. The sound is not perfect. The video is not perfect. So your brain is telling you, not yet. Don't do it. But you know that you want to do it. your brain is simply trying to protect you. So until you decide that you're ready, your brain won't let you. And that's okay. It's just like a subconscious thing, but you have to move forward with it. Have you ever noticed how the people that are successful in life are not the ones that waited to feel ready? It's the people that, even though they weren't ready, they did it anyways. Think about it for a minute. How many things have you done that you weren't ready for? Whether that is a first day of school, not ready. First day of a job, not ready. First time in a relationship, you weren't ready. But you still move forward and adapted as you went, and you were able to figure it out. And you can tell me, well, my relationship didn't work, so I didn't. No. Even if your relationship didn't work out and your first day at school was terrible, you moved forward and you figured it out as you went. But let's dive a little bit deeper into why do we fall into this cycle of waiting to feel ready, waiting for everything to be perfect, waiting for the perfect circumstances, and for your brain to tell you, I'm done, girly. Let's move forward. I would say that number one, it's the fear of failure. As I said, listen, let's be honest. Most times we are so scared of starting anything because we are afraid we're going to fail. We are afraid that we're not going to be good enough or as good as we thought. But let's be honest, dude, failure is inevitable. Absolutely no one or very little people get things right the first time. Unless you have like a team full of people that are going to do the things for you, you're not going to get it right. And that's okay. I think also like we are not fully aware of, enjoy the process. We simply want to enjoy the final product. Okay. Like, listen, in reality, and I've mentioned this in other episodes, my goal with the podcast was not to have 1 million streams and 1 million followers and this many brand deals and work with these brands. No, my goal with the podcast was to simply launch the podcast. So when I launched the podcast, I felt this huge level of just reward of, oh my gosh, I did it. Like I accomplished my goal. And I was still terrified, but I did it anyway. Number two, perfectionism. We think that we need to have everything perfected before we start out. But perfectionism is just an excuse we use to avoid the uncomfort of starting messy. Because you have no idea how many girlfriends and acquaintances and people I know that tell me, oh my gosh, how did you start on social media? And I'm like, well, I just started posting TikToks. I mean, I don't know. I just started posting. I've always known that I wanted to do social media. So in my head, I was just like, I'm not going to do it until I start posting. And they tell me, no, but I feel like I have to have the perfect background and, like the perfect closet and the perfect everything. And I'm like, well, I mean, sure, but I follow a lot of people that don't have, the perfect IKEA pack system closet. And I still like their outfits. Like I follow them for their outfits. I'm not following them for their background. And I remember this conversation, and I had it maybe like 2-3 weeks ago with a girl where I told her, like, show me some of your favorite creators. That's what happened. And she showed me, like 5 videos of this one girl. And I'm evaluating like the entire video. Okay. I'm evaluating the background. I'm evaluating the actual outfit, the transitions, the sound. I'm evaluating everything because my brain is just wired a little different. She shows me the videos, and then I'm like, cool. So like, what do you like about the video? And she's like, oh, the outfits. Like her outfits are just amazing. And I'm like, do you remember what she had as a background? And she's like, oh, well, no. And I'm like, right. So as a whole, and I'm not saying it's not important to have a pretty ambience to your videos, because of course, I mean, if the video is straight up horrible, no one's going to want to stay and watch it, right? Like something pretty, it's going to catch the eye and it's going to make you stop scrolling. But the actual content of the video, it was going to get you the followers. It was going to get you a community. So when I told her, like, right, so even you, who's the one that is complaining about the perfect background and not having it, you don't remember what the background on the influencer that you follow is. So is it really that big of a deal? She's like, yeah, well, maybe not. So bottom line, we are also stuck in perfection, having everything perfect to start, when you just need to start. You'll make it better as you go, but it won't start perfect. Third is comparison. Listen, social media makes it seem like everyone got it right the first time. Like everyone has and knows so much more than you do. That's not right. They simply started before you did. Listen, as I said, go back on my YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now, scroll down to my first videos and look at how this podcast started. It was completely different. I mean, it looks nothing like it does right now. But you know why I've been able to better the whole setup? because I started and I continued. If I had never started, if I had started today, it was still going to look shitty to a certain extent. It wasn't going to be as good as I liked. So stop comparing yourself and simply get started, because there's no such a thing as the perfect moment to start. The only way to get ready is to begin the thing that you're going for. And now that we acknowledge the whole spinning wheel of never feeling ready, how do we break these thoughts? How do we move forward? How do we start? First off, you gotta redefine readiness as a choice. It's not that you don't feel ready. You're choosing to not be ready. Okay. And let's say your dream was to start TikTok. And the thing that's stopping you is that, well, I don't have a ring light and I don't have the pretty background and I don't have a tripod and I don't have this and I don't have that. You can make up with most of these things. Let's say you don't have a ring light. For sure. Set up in front of a window. You don't have a tripod. Stack up a bunch of books, stack up your makeup, stack up whatever. We probably all started that way. I mean, stacking things up. But you have to be the one to rebrand your brain and tell it, I am choosing to start now. Whether we feel ready or not, we are ready. And it's going to be uncomfortable, but you have to accept discomfort as part of the process, because anything new is going to feel a little bit icky. You're going to feel a little bit like, oh, you're going to give yourself the ick. That's the truth. But that doesn't mean that you're not ready. I mean, you haven't done it before. You maybe have no experience. It doesn't mean that you're not ready. It simply means that you're growing. It means that you're getting better than you were before. It means that you're adapting, and it means that you're just becoming a bigger, better version of yourself. And that's super slay. Also, be a little kind with yourself and honestly lower the stakes. I know everyone's going to tell you like, yeah, have goals and have aspirations. I stand by that. I absolutely think you should have goals and you have everything you want. And I also believe that the universe will give you whatever you ask for and whatever you set your mind to. However, most times we psych ourselves out by making things so much bigger than they are. And maybe a little tip that could work out for you is to break things down into what are the little things that I need to do in order to make this big thing happen, and set up like a system. Okay. I started using Trello, which is like a program manager, project manager type of thing. It's just a website or like an app. You can do it for free. And you have different settings. I'm a very visual person. So what I started doing is, for the launch of the podcast, what do I need? Okay. And in my head, I couldn't launch the podcast until I had like a teaser and like a little preview of the podcast, and yeah, just like promotional material to promote it before it launched. Because I feel like if you're just launching anything and all of a sudden you're like, hey, here's my podcast on a random Monday night, people are going to be like, wait, what? Like, I want the behind the scenes. Like, have you been working on this for a long? Anyways, so I started teasing it. I started putting it out there, making questionnaires, putting it out. So in my head, I was like, how am I going to launch this podcast? Okay, I need to make a teaser. What do I need to make this teaser? I need to record it. So I wrote down like a script of, these are the scenes I want. These are the locations I want it on. And then what do I need to make this happen? Okay, I need an outfit and I need recording props and I need this and this and this and this. Okay, I need to buy this on this date, start recording on this date, do the script on this date, and so on and so on and so on. And I broke it down so easily that actually making it happen didn't feel impossible. It didn't feel like I was reaching. It felt very doable. But it was because I was setting myself up for success, because I didn't have these crazy expectations of, no, this teaser has to be an Oscar-worthy teaser. No, it just has to be a teaser. I'm going to put it out so I can launch the podcast. That was it. And as I mentioned before, with my goal being simply launching and not really the numbers behind the podcast, let's say that your goal is to find a job. I mean, you would of course want to find the better paying job with the best benefits, with the best everything out there, right? But if you simply start by saying, okay, I need to find a position as a CEO at X company. I am so sorry to break it to you, but you're probably going to let yourself down. So sure, the job is the goal. But how about you break it down as to, you know what, I want to find the job. This is my goal. And the mini goal that I'm setting for myself is to start applying to jobs. And I'm going to apply to 15 jobs per day. Okay. And every night when you go to sleep and you apply to 25 jobs that day instead of the 15 that you set up for yourself, you're going to feel like you won. And maybe you will find out the job as a CEO, but the mini goal that you have of applying to 15 jobs is going to make it so much more doable to feel the reward and to go throughout the process of finding a job with a mindset of, okay, yeah, I can do this. I'm happy doing this because I'm winning every day. Every day I'm doing a little bit better than I did before. And even if you did apply to 15 jobs, I'm still doing great. I'm still meeting my quota. I'm still meeting my goal. And I know I already gave you like the big picture of this, but big goals are overwhelming. If you break them down, they become manageable. It doesn't mean they're not overwhelming, but they're manageable. You can actually feel like you can do it. Like you can accomplish whatever you're setting yourself up for. So instead of trying to chase the big goal, just do the next right thing, the next little thing that's going to move the needle for you to be able to move forward to your big goal. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I mean, I can start these little goals, but I don't feel ready, that's okay. No one feels ready. Most of us simply start. And after you start, whatever it is you're going for, whatever it is your goal is, you're going to notice that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as scary as it was cracked up to be. And I have a little challenge for you, but we have to be honest with each other, okay? What is one thing that you've been putting off because you don't feel ready? And it can be something big, it can be something small, it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be, oh, I don't feel ready to wash the dishes. It can be, I don't feel ready to start applying to new jobs because I'm not ready to quit mine. It can be whatever you want it to be. Whatever it is that thing that's intimidating you is, just take one small step towards it today. Whether that is sending an email or setting a date or making that one TikTok, do anything that is going to signal to your brain that you are ready to take action, that you're done waiting, that you're done waiting to feel ready. You're just ready. Because by doing one little step, like for example, you want to start applying to jobs. Okay, this Monday I'm going to start applying to jobs. Your brain is going to be like, well, I need to back out a little bit. I can't keep installing all of these fears onto her of, oh, but what is going to happen? I mean, you're going to apply to 1,000 jobs and none of them are going to take. No. None of that matters. I'm simply applying to jobs this Monday. And your brain is going to say, okay, well, I guess we're applying to jobs this Monday. We're going to prepare for that. Because the truth is that the second that you decide to be ready, everything will shift. And this is it for this episode, besties. I hope that it gave you that little push that you might have been needing or looking for to stop waiting and start doing. And if you're done waiting to feel ready, just DM me, girly. Let's just talk. I love hearing your stories. Honestly, I think like the most rewarding thing of this podcast is like getting to listen to people's stories and then telling me, oh my gosh, I connected. I was going through it. This did help me. Connecting with you guys is like the biggest reward I can ever ask for. So thank you so much for giving me your time. Thank you so much for choosing to listen to me. I really appreciate you. Anyways, besitos.